well. I hope you can hear me. Let me know, please, if
Yes,
you
we can
can.
hear you well, Laura.
Very clear.
Oh, okay, good. So I don't need to yell. Plus, my voice is so deep. Y'all can see that? Yes, is that okay? Thumbs up from somebody, signs of life, just to make sure.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, that was one hell of an intro. So I actually don't feel like I need to go through anything about VMV, but I am thrilled and I am grateful to Q2, to Globe, to EO for taking care of companies that are losing our minds, and that includes me. The 30-second intro to VMV they've already discussed so kindly. We're here to save the world's skin with the safest, most proven, effective care on the planet. Siguro the only two things I'm going to mention now is one way that we guarantee safety is we have a grading system that's similar to like an SPF, but it's for hypoallergenicity. And a study on that published in the leading journal for contact dermatitis in the world shows less than 0.1% reactions in over 30 years. So safety is something we take tremendously seriously. And in terms of efficacy, I mentioned a published study. It's kind of the holy grail in science, certainly in cosmetics, to get one study published in a peer-reviewed journal, thanks to my mother, who is our founding dermatologist and dermatopathologist. So women proud talaga. Taga Bugos, Cebu pa kaayog yun. So thanks to her, we have over 75. She herself has hundreds to her name. So we take safety and efficacy very seriously. On that note, folks, if you want to learn more about us, follow us on social media, but certainly reach out to me. I'm on Instagram at Laura@VMV. So LAURA@VMV. Uy, maayong tanong. Hi, Cebu. Okay, very quickly, I was asked to talk about future-proofing leaders, prepping them for challenging times. And really what I'm going to say is that preparation happens every damn day. Don't wait for shit to hit the fan, as it were. Who you are now as a culture, as a company, that's who you're going to be in a crisis. So it really is a daily thing that we have to do every single day, right? Pre-crisis. How we're evolving, I think, is very interesting because I think a lot of what was said earlier is true. We can't rely on the old way of doing things anymore. And the last thing, to me, the biggest lesson talaga this entire pandemic was loving what is, no? Shaking the addiction to the myth of certainty. Maayong buntag. I love the Cebuanos here. So, first thing, who you are is who you're going to be in a crisis. My trainer says, you don't play a sport to get in shape. You get in shape so you can excel in your sport. And another way of thinking of that is we are getting in shape, especially me, I'm getting older now. So when I fall, I can catch myself, right? So it's really all about the pre-game. And this is who we were prior to the crisis, right? Very diverse and inclusive workforce, even in the United States, in terms of gender, sexual orientation, race, and religion. Women, you heard kanina. But since 1999, I was kind of obsessed already with the idea of balance. So telecommuting, we started in 1999. A 30-day vacation every 2 years. This actually was inspired by a talk in EO, New York that I attended. 2015, we did already a 4-day work week. 2016, we introduced a longer maternity/paternity/same-sex /adopting parental leave. We have other parental leaves for childcare if there's an emergency or whatever. Oops, I forgot to start my timer to make sure I finish on time ba, but I will. Okay. And then we added mental wellness as a valid reason for sick leave in 2017. And by 2018, we were already doing flexible workplace options. So by the time 2020 hit, and we had to do work from home and emotional care and all this stuff, it still hit us like a freight truck, right? But okay, at least this is who we are. Like, we prepped for this. And things like reaching out to the community. We have 3 studies ongoing now for COVID-19 with virgin coconut oil for mild to moderate symptoms as well as severe symptoms to lessen the severity of symptoms and shorten hospital stays and whatnot. We, in 2017, also launched what we called a VM Vital program. And this was interesting because I was asked to give a lesson on writing in business English. And I was like, in a previous life, I was an academic. So I know if I'm going to teach a course, I have to do research. I have to plan a curriculum. I have to, So I was saying, we're not naman a school. And what was the real issue? And the real issue we discovered is people were shy to try. People were shy to talk, to share, to ask questions. So I said, instead of a top-down approach like a school, maybe we work on trying to get people confident. Let's teach people how to create a non-judgmental, safe space where they can ask questions and to get people confident about researching. One of the things that we do is called a Teamy Tahoe, where everyone rotates in their daily huddles, including whoever, right, the messenger like that, to teach me something. Teamy, teach me anything. Anything. It can be like my favorite adobo recipe or whatever. So that's practicing one skill of sharing, right, to your group. The second skill being practiced is creating a safe space of non-judgment to listen. And the third skill being practiced is to take home value. So like in this, right now, in the middle of my talking, if you think I'm boring, you've heard it all before, what interest, whatever, still practice the skill of taking something home, right? You don't like this font, you like my lipstick, whatever. But this is really what we were focusing on pre-pandemic. And we also launched mentorship circles that were specific to leadership, but for everybody. So the youngest leaders or interested leaders, parang they're not yet in positions of leadership, they also had a mentorship circle where they could ask anything. And note that I know that I mix my metaphors here. I'm a hardcore Star Trek fan. Wala pang Star Trek dito. But anyway, we go from smart to Padawan to Jedi to Shifu. And in these circles, then Shifu gets to practice mentorship with the Jedis. The Jedis get to mentor the Padawans and so on and so forth. And key here for us, and I think it was crucial for how we survived the pandemic, how we are surviving because it's still happening, is we really were not focused on the operational. Because I figure kung mag-google mo yan, pains na, right? So we really focus on leadership. And one thing I always say is, many times we get promoted in leadership because we executed a strategy well. That does not make you a leader. That makes you a very, very good executioner or executor of strategy. There's got to be a word there. So we really talk about what it means to be a leader, right? How to be vulnerable, how to experience, share, how to create the safe space, no judgment, empathy, mental wellness, balance, authenticity, and happiness. Because at the end of the day, the healthiest people in the org have to be its leaders. We're the ones that take on the most burden. We're the ones that have to calm everyone down. And we have to take care of our own crap, diba? So there, that's kind of how we were before the crisis. And then when the crisis hit, ayun na, everything changed, right? And it's still VUCA. What I tell everyone is, if it's not the pandemic, it might be Taal, or it might be another Ondoy. There will always be something. We're living in this VUCA world, right? So how then, if we've already built our culture that is inclusive, that's about leadership, that can talk about vulnerability and all these things, how will our organization change? And I attended this wonderful talk by Pascal Finette that he gave to EO on the organization of the future being K-ords. Now, I'm hopefully going to be able to play this, but basically these are murmurations, right? This happens with several animals on the planet. These are starlings. They also happen with some fish. But basically the old hierarchical structures of military type, diba? Your team is led by a leader. That leader is led by another leader, and then you meet in silos. That cannot work anymore because everything is just constantly uncertain. We have to flow consistently. There's no one leader. If you look at these birds here, they don't naman stop, and then the mama starling says, hey, let's turn left, right? Hey, there's a hawk, let's turn right. They just it looks like they just know, like by magic. And look at this, it looks a little chaotic, but the truth is they're heading in the same direction. And what science is showing is how this works is everyone is a leader. Everyone interacts with the 6 or 7 individuals closest to them. And that's how you have this incredible K-org, this organization that is so united in terms of goal, direction, and values, but can really flow and pivot, no? But this to me was really the biggest lesson that we've had to learn, I think as a company, as a people, which is to love what is, as it is, exactly as it is, and as it shifts. So we keep thinking about a future crisis, but frankly, it was hard and still remains hard for people to accept what now is. And what now is uncertain, right? So the upskilling I was surprised to learn was we have to learn and we have to be able to teach how to surf and flourish in uncertainty, to stop demanding certainty because it's not there, right? But to be able to function in uncertainty. To me, the quote of the year that started in the beginning of 2020 was from Ashley C. Ford. What you're seeing is people go through the withdrawal from the emotional addiction to the myth of certainty. Because there's nothing certain naman talaga, right? In nature, everything is constantly shifting and moving. Anything that isn't moving is dead. So really, we have to relearn how to get comfortable with uncertainty. Stop asking when it'll be over. We're living right now in a reality that hasn't even defined itself. We're kind of in between times, right? So learning this concept of the present, oh my gosh, if anyone here is familiar with Eckhart Tolle or Byron Katie and this whole concept of being in the now, it's not easy because most of us were raised to think about the future, right? Or the past. A lot of the stuff, and this was discussed also earlier, that we once dismissed as soft and stupid, like emotions, are now kind of key, right? Self-care. Christo Popov says a company is just a group of people. That's all we are, is just people. So expecting us to power through pain and this generational trauma that we're in is really not realistic. What's interesting, though, is not just that we started focusing on the everything of the employee, emotional well-being, mental well-being, and all of this, but that we really have to go beyond the self too, right? Because my therapist says this is like living through a generational trauma. It's like a world war, right? It's been so long, it's affected everybody. So we at VMV, for example, in response to that, have kind of come out of our shell. We've always been, like our handbooks have always said she, he, to be inclusive, but now we're switching to the singular they to allow for more genders. We came out more forcefully for Black Lives Matter, for Stop Asian Hate, things like that, but because we really have to get out of the wreckage of hyper-individualism. It just doesn't work. It's why we got here. There is power in vulnerability, in mutual reliance and responsibility. For most of humankind, our species biologically needs empathy and kinship to survive. So in as much as we have to focus on self-care, we have to go beyond ourselves, right? So leaders have to be the healthiest people in the organization, and all of that has to predate a crisis. Then we have to evolve to these newer creatures that are vulnerable, authentic, caring. We risk emotional exposure, says Brené Brown, right? And we don't just do self-care, we go beyond that into caring for each other. So I want to end today by sharing some tips that we always share in VMV and we have before the crisis and we double, triple down on now. The first is a gratitude journal. The science behind this is powerful. Basically, what the brain does most frequently, those are the synapses that will fire the most, and that's what's going to get sticky. That's what your brain is going to default to. Therefore, at the end of the day, get a journal, write at least 3 things you're grateful for. Can be more than 3, but not less. And that's it. That's it. It's important to do it at night because that's where learning is cemented by the brain, right? But you'll be amazed how much has changed. And when I have like an employee I had last week who was self-isolating, Kawawa was so panicked and so depressed. And I said, okay, right now, and I do this with my kids too, get a piece of paper, 10 things you're grateful for. It's an instant reset. And doing this every night makes a big difference. The other is deliberate practice. There's fantastic science behind this as well. But basically, it's like when we were in college and like we had a paper due in 2 months. Ain't nobody wrote the paper 2 months early. Or some people did, but I certainly didn't. And then you wrote the paper 2 nights before, and then you pulled an all-nighter to knock it out, diba? That's because when the brain is given limitations, strict lines, like playing tennis, here's the line, you can't hit out of bounds. The more you do it, the more effective you get within the limitations. So if you set strict times for yourself to get this work done, ganyan, you actually get it done the more you do it, right? Muscle memory. We also share the anxiety equation if someone is feeling anxious. This is from Chip Conley, who I also heard in EO New York. Anxiety equals uncertainty times powerlessness. If you can lower one of those things, so uncertainty, if we can't control talaga, I can't have a sales forecast because I don't know what's going to happen. Focus on what you have power over, what you can control, and anxiety will go down. And his happiness equation is wanting what you have divided by getting what you want. Because studies have shown that I think it's called the happiness plateau is real. You could win the lottery, get the job of your dreams, whatever, and you get a spike of happiness that quickly starts to plateau and go down, right? So happiness is a skill to be practiced mindfully by like brushing your teeth, like working out every single day. And the key to happiness is really wanting what you have, which doesn't dampen ambition. It just makes sure that you really appreciate all the wonderful, amazing things that you have, because you do have a lot now. Other things that we share, a calming technique called square breathing that even Navy SEALs do before a mission. You inhale for 4 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. Sorry, inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and hold for 4 counts, and you do that 4 times. Grounding techniques, this comes from trauma therapy. If you know one of your employees has woken up in the middle of the night, is really in the middle of a panic attack, for example, you name 5 things that you can see, 4 that you can touch or feel, 3 that you can hear, 2 that you can smell, and 1 that you can touch, just to ground you back to reality. And the very last thing I want to share with you today, this has become one of our core values, is metta meditation, which is also called the loving kindness meditation. Basically, you imagine, so get yourself to your safe space. You imagine where you are really the most relaxed, the most free, and you imagine it in detail. What is the weather like? Is it snowing and windy? Is it sunny? Are you by the ocean? What do you smell? What do you hear? Do you hear the waves? Do you hear the leaves? And you take some breaths and you get settled in this space, and then you imagine in front of you yourself. And you say to yourself, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be at peace. And you repeat this 4 times to yourself lovingly. And then in your safe space, you imagine you get up and leave, and your loved ones come in and sit in front of you, and you repeat this to them. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be at peace. And then you imagine them going and an acquaintance, and you repeat. Then you imagine that person going and the challenging person coming, and you repeat that as well. Then they go, and finally a community comes in front of you, and you say, as I say to you today, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be at peace. Thank you very much.